Mom knew I was her real daughter and flew into a rage on the spot. She convinced the fake heiress's biological mother to abandon her, and then made life difficult for me at every turn. Later, she was pushed down the stairs by the fake heiress, left in a vegetative state, and nearly perished in a fire. Abandoned at the hospital with no one to care for her, left to rot and decay, I was dutifully caring for her by her bedside, serving her tirelessly without complaint. Even when I was being strangled and on the verge of death, I abandoned my last shred of dignity, pleading only for the fake heiress not to pull the plug on Mom's oxygen tube. Later, Mom was reborn on the very day she made me sign the severance agreement. I packed my luggage and took one last look at the room I had lived in for 2 years. The Green family's villa was spacious, but as their daughter, I slept in the narrowest servants' quarters. It was barely the size of a palm. With a wooden bed less than a meter wide, turning around was difficult. My wardrobe was that single suitcase of mine, laid flat. It served as the desk I used for 2 years. The reason I live here is because of my biological mother. When it was first discovered that the babies had been switched, and that I was actually the heiress of the Green family, my mother burst into tears on the spot. She was crying out of anger. How could such an ugly daughter be mine? She steals. Bullies classmates. How could a rotten seed like this be my daughter? I'm not ugly, just emaciated beyond recognition, nothing like the fake heiress Cindy Green, whom she holds dear to her heart. I didn't steal anything either. It was Cindy Green's prank. Cindy Green and I attended the same school. She deliberately stuffed a diamond bracelet into my gym clothes, then cried to the teacher, making a huge scene, all so that when her mother was called in, she could stubbornly pressure the school to expel me. Cindy Green insulted me, saying, "How can a poor wretch like you exist at X High? You're only fit to follow your mother around picking up trash." Ever since she found out my father died young and my mother scraped by collecting recyclables to put me through school, she had tried every possible way to drive me out. She and those privileged kids had an innate sense of superiority, although she ranked at the bottom academically. It didn't stop her from ostracizing those she disliked. She drove a wedge between me and my classmates, leaving me isolated, and later outright accused me of theft. In the teacher's office, her mother slapped me hard across the face, her sharp nails instantly scratching my cheek, leaving a burning, stinging pain. The arrogant socialite pointed at my mother and scolded viciously. What's the point of someone from this kind of family even studying, with sticky fingers? Their grades are probably stolen too. Who would have thought that just a few days later, the person who forced me to drop out of school would become my own mother? When the police took me to the Green family, they said the nurse who had switched the babies years ago had a crisis of conscience and confessed the truth. Mom's first reaction was to panic and question, "Is this a mistake? How could she possibly be my child?" As if I were a piece of sticky candy that couldn't be shaken off. Needlessly adding disgust to her stable life, Cindy Green's face beside me instantly drained of color. Her fingers clenched tightly as she glared at me with hatred. At that time, she might have thought the 2 children would be swapped, that she was about to become the daughter of a scrap collector. But Mom used threats and bribes to make the adoptive mother abandon her plan to take Cindy Green away. From then on, Cindy Green schemed relentlessly to drive me away, pretending to be sisterly to my face while secretly wishing she could carve my flesh piece by piece. 2 years have passed, and now her goal has been achieved. I'm about to be kicked out of the Green family. Last night, Mom already gave me the eviction notice. Sign the severance agreement tomorrow, and I'll pay your mother's medical bills and give you enough money to finish college. The mother she mentioned is my adoptive mother, Cindy Green's biological mother. She never let me call her mom. "Don't try to get close, you disgust me, you greedy little thing." She disliked me from the very first glance, yet doted endlessly on Cindy Green, whom she raised by her side. To avoid making Cindy Green feel sad or disappointed, she acknowledged me but never truly accepted me. When Dad wasn't home, I wasn't even allowed to eat at the table. Only leftovers were my share. But it wasn't me who initiated the reunion. It was my adoptive mother who tearfully urged me to leave, saying, "At least with them, you'll never want for food or clothing." Yet in my own home, I experienced what it truly means to live under someone else's roof in misery. Cindy Green stood at the doorway at some point, watching me with keen interest. "How does it feel to fall from heaven back into hell, Rainy Green?" "Oh wait, I mean, Rainy James. I don't feel sad at all. In fact, I feel somewhat relieved. Finally about to break free from all of this." Meanwhile, my mother, who had just woken up, hurriedly ran downstairs with a frantic expression. "What must come will come eventually. I steadied myself and tightened my grip on the pen in my hand. Suddenly, my mother rushed forward and hugged me tightly. The cool liquid dripping onto my face genuinely startled me. Crying, what kind of act is this again? Her voice trembled from above. My daughter, Mom will never let anyone bully you again. Trapped in her embrace. Unable to move, I looked up and met the stunned face of Cindy Green. She opened her mouth, anger flashing in her eyes, yet her words came out pitifully. Mom, you actually can't bear to let Rainey go either, right? How about not making her leave? She snuggled into her mother's arms as usual, her eyes challenging me. When I first returned to the Green family, I was hurt by my mother's inexplicable resentment and tried my best to behave well. Now, I no longer care. It was hard to admit that my own mother didn't love me, but that's all in the past. She would hold Cindy Green close and share interesting things with her, but if I got within a meter, she would already be waving me away in disgust. The mother and daughter lived in extreme luxury, while I had to work part-time after school just to barely make ends meet. The pocket money Dad gave me was immediately taken by Mom and handed to Cindy Green. We're providing you with food and shelter. How dare you ask for money? During that heavy rainstorm, Mom personally came to pick up Cindy Green. Holding an umbrella and carrying her backpack, afraid she'd get even a little wet, but no one cared how I got home. My flimsy umbrella was completely destroyed by the wind and rain. By the time I walked home, it was pitch dark, and I couldn't stop shivering. Mom just glared at me coldly. Who are you trying to look pitiful for? Because she came back too late, she had the maid throw away even the leftovers. I had a high fever at night, and it was the driver who couldn't bear to see it and took me to the hospital. The next day, my mother covered her nose and mouth in disgust, saying, wear your mask properly, don't infect Cindy. So I can't remember when I completely gave up on making her like me. There were just too many instances. I broke free from my mother's embrace and went to get my luggage. I didn't take any of the things my father had bought for me. Mom suddenly rushed over and snatched my suitcase. You're not going anywhere. This is your home. Where do you think you're going? Both Cindy Green and I were stunned. Half a month ago, my adoptive mother was hit by a speeding car and lay severely injured in the hospital. While I was busy raising funds for her medical expenses, Cindy Green was busy pledging her loyalty to Mom, even though she gave birth to me. You're the only mother I have, even if they call me unfilial. I can't bear to let you pay for her treatment. The mother held her close, kissing her repeatedly with deep satisfaction, then prepaid some of the medical expenses. Now, seeing the medical funds about to run out and encountering such a golden opportunity, she simply had me sign a severance agreement in exchange for my foster mother's medical expenses. But upon waking up, she seemed to have changed her mind again. She also acted somewhat strangely, gripping me tightly with eyes that looked as if they wanted to devour me whole. She looked me up and down, tears gradually welling up in her eyes. Though I couldn't figure out why she was putting on this act, I had no intention of playing along. My foster mother was still waiting for the medical fees to save her life. As for crying, I'd already done that secretly under the covers last night. With a hoarse voice, I said, Auntie, I can sign right now. What do you mean, sign, Rainey? How can you call me aunt? You're my own child. Call me Mom. Cindy Green's expression changed slightly, but she remained silent. I didn't speak up either, afraid of Mom's sudden sarcasm and mockery. During this year of exam preparation, I once tentatively asked Mom if I could ride in the family car to school, because the villa area was too far from school. Even riding my bike and transferring to the bus often made me late for morning classes. Mom snorted coldly. Done pretending to be independent and strong. If it's too far, just move into the dorm. Save me the trouble of looking at you. Later, a kind-hearted servant saw me staying up late studying and brought me some cut fruit, only to be stopped by Mom at the door. Such a snob. Why spoil her? She's not even an official member of the Green family yet. Putting on airs already, she favored Cindy Green, convinced that I was only sticking around because of the Green family's wealth. I never shared these experiences with my adoptive mother, but she might have guessed a thing or two. So when someone came knocking one day, wanting to take Cindy Green back, Mom immediately refused. Cindy can't handle hardship, and it's not like we can't afford to raise her. If you really care about the child, don't bring this up again. Dad secretly gave my adoptive mother a sum of money, but she refused to take it. I'm not selling a child. And I truly don't have the means to provide for her as she has now. Just consider it as if I never gave birth to her. My adoptive mother couldn't bear to part with me, but she also didn't want me to endure the scorn of others by staying with her. she just sighed and advised me, "You're her biological child. She might need time to accept you." After 2 years of waiting, I didn't receive the belated maternal love I hoped for. I only felt that staying any longer would suffocate me. The thought of my foster mother made me anxious. "Auntie, didn't we agree, the medical expenses?" But my mother immediately cut me off. "Sweetheart, don't worry about the medical bills. Mom just paid them and even arranged for her to be moved to a private room. She even hired 2 caregivers for my foster mother." Then, as if something in the room displeased her, she frowned and called the maid in. "Move Rainie's things to the room next to mine. From now on, I'll take good care of my precious daughter." I wondered if there was something wrong with her head. The whole time I was in a daze, watching the servants busily tidy up the spacious room, so much so that I was pulled into the car by my mom before I could even react. She reached out to hold me, pressing her head affectionately against mine, but this excessive closeness made me somewhat uncomfortable. "It was all my fault before, Rainie. From now on, Mom will never let you suffer again. Help. Can someone tell me how this mom changed overnight?" She even refused Cindy Green, who wanted to come along. This was my first time shopping at a mall with my mom, and I had no idea where to put my hands and feet the entire time. My worn-out shoes stepped on the thick carpet, and the shop assistant looked at me with disdain. Since we entered one after the other, she probably didn't realize the well-dressed lady in front was with me. I merely glanced at a pair of dazzling shoes, and she immediately crossed her arms to warn me, "Don't touch if you're not buying. If you damage them, you couldn't afford to pay even with a lifetime of work." Mom turned and saw this scene, then walked straight over to shield me in her arms. For some reason, there was a hint of heartache in the look she gave me. I must have imagined it. "Call your manager over here." The manager who hurried over was trying to be careful, but still couldn't quite handle Mom's angry scolding. "Looking down on people, are you? Just because I'm dressed plainly, I'm not good enough for your store. Let her check how much I spend here in a year, see if she could earn that much in her entire lifetime." The store manager repeatedly apologized and called the clerk over to bow and apologize. Mom bent down and asked me, still angry, "Don't be afraid, Mom's here. No one dares to bully you." I quickly nodded, though I was already so embarrassed I didn't know what to do. The manager fawned as he followed behind Mom, watching her inspect the beautiful clothes, wrap up everything except these few items. She then pointed to the set in the display window, from head to toe. "Take these and have my daughter try them on." Only when the driver and the store manager walked over carrying dozens of bags did I dare believe all these were actually for me. "Auntie, I don't need these. They're too expensive, and I don't have many occasions to wear them. After school I have to go to my part-time job, so I really don't dare wear clothes that cost thousands per piece." But suddenly Mom's eyes turned red, looking at me cautiously, her voice trembling. "Wear whatever you want. How could it be useless? This is all what I owe you." Last time when I ruined Cindy Green's silk pajamas by washing them, Mom punished me by not letting me eat. Cindy Green hypocritically advised her, "I really don't blame Rainie. After all, I took her life from her, so it's normal for her to resent me. If it's ruined, it's ruined. Don't stop her from eating, okay?" The next second, she put on a pitiful expression. "I'm just a bit heartbroken that it had to be that particular dress. The one you specially ordered for me from Paris last time, now." As she watched the servants carrying those high-end luxury bags into my room one after another, her eyes turned red with envy. Mom was still instructing the butler that every furnishing in the room must be of the finest quality. "We can't let my daughter feel slighted." I stood there awkwardly, my mind in complete chaos, constantly wondering if something had gone wrong somewhere. The most unusual thing was that Mom seemed to stop loving Cindy Green overnight. She used to take Cindy Green everywhere, but now she only takes me. It was summer vacation, and Cindy Green wanted to travel abroad, but Mom acted as if she hadn't heard. Instead, she carefully asked me, "Rainie, would you like to go on a trip to Europe?" I was worried about my adoptive mother's illness and repeatedly declined with tact. To my surprise, Mother looked genuinely disappointed, which made Cindy Green secretly mock me even more. "Stop pretending to be the perfect devoted daughter. Don't think that just because Mother pities you now, you're suddenly the heiress of the Green family." She snatched away the golden limited edition bag, sneering, "You think someone as pathetic as you deserves to carry this? The debutante ball is approaching, and apart from the dress that matches mine, Mom hasn't paid attention to anything else she's bought recently." In the evening, she grabbed her bag to go out, and I knew she was heading out on a date with Harry Hudson. The Hudson and Green families have been close for years. She and Harry grew up together, a perfect match in social standing, long considered the most compatible pair in their parents' eyes. But suddenly, Mom stopped her with a cold expression. "Isn't this bag Rainie's?" Cindy Green casually remarked. "She didn't like it, so she gave it to me, right, Rainie?" I had grown accustomed to her making such baseless claims, and was just about to respond when Mom suddenly strode over and slapped her hard across the face. I froze on the spot. Cindy Green was utterly bewildered, tears welling up as she stared at Mom in stunned silence. "Mom, how could you hit me?" Mom grabbed the bag forcefully. "If Rainie doesn't like it, she can throw it away. It's your fault for snatching it and saying she forced it on you." "Mom, I didn't." Mom snorted coldly and suddenly called the driver in. "Pull up the surveillance footage from the car." Cindy Green's face instantly turned deathly pale. "Mom," the surveillance footage appeared on the villa's large screen, showing the scene when I was rushing to submit my college application. Cindy Green pushed me out of the car onto the ground. "Filthy thing. I refuse to ride in the same car as you." Now she looked utterly embarrassed and tried to explain. "I was just joking with Rainie." But her mother remained cold-faced. "I raised you with so much care, couldn't bear to see you suffer, and insisted on keeping you by my side. Now it seems I was wrong to do so." Cindy Green's face turned even paler, her body trembling slightly. Her mother made her take off her clothes and change into the ones brought by the maid. I recognized at a glance that it was one of the few clothes in my luggage. Cindy Green was on the verge of tears, but Mom wasn't finished. "I've spoiled you for 18 years, only to raise an enemy. I won't make you sleep in the servants' quarters, but your card is frozen. I'll give you $500 a month for living expenses. You'll have to budget carefully in college. After graduation, you can go wherever you want. I have no obligation to support you any longer." These words struck Cindy Green like a bolt from the blue. She stared blankly, tears streaming down her face, and looked at her mother in confusion. "Why, even if I accidentally pushed Rainie, how could you abandon me, Mom?" She ran over as usual to throw herself into her mother's arms, but was immediately pushed away. "I spoiled you too much before, making you forget your place. Rainie is my real daughter. If I catch you bullying her again, I won't be this lenient with you." Mom pulled me upstairs, not forgetting to tell the maid, "Bring the food upstairs later." "Isn't Cindy going on a date? No need to prepare for her." Cindy Green didn't make it to her date that night. She cried bitterly in her room. Meanwhile, I sat in the upstairs dining room, eating without tasting anything, my mind far from the meal. Mom had piled my bowl high with food, as if deliberately ignoring the loud sobbing. In the past, let alone crying like this, even if Cindy Green just silently shed 2 little golden tears, my mother would practically want to kick me out of the house. "It must be you saying something hurtful to her again, right? Did you mock her with your own biological child?" I couldn't defend myself and was punished every time by being denied dinner. Who knew the tables would turn so quickly? I couldn't help but ask, "Mom, why are you suddenly being so nice to me?" It's so good that it makes me feel at a loss, and also afraid. Those who have never had anything won't feel too sad when they lose it, but once you start having more and more, without knowing why, you'll become as anxious and uneasy as I am. Mom suddenly got emotional, her eyes welling up with tears. She put down her chopsticks, walked over, and hugged me tightly. "I was foolish before. My first impression of you was so poor. I thought you were a bad child. Plus, I heard so many negative rumors, so I was wrong. From now on, I'll make it up to you. One day, we'll be as close as any other mother and daughter." Lately, she's been hugging me like this all the time, even kissing my forehead on impulse. But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. "But I haven't done anything." "Why the sudden change of heart?" Mom was taken aback for a moment, then quickly explained, "You are my biological child, carried in my womb for 10 months. The bond between us mother and daughter is something that can never be severed." At night, I had already gone to bed, but Cindy Green's sobbing continued intermittently. Her trump card seemed to have lost its effectiveness, as Mom's closed door remained shut the entire night without opening. Early in the morning, Cindy Green indeed changed into my old clothes, knocked on the door for a long time, and apologized to Mom in a soft, weak voice, but Mom didn't restore her card for me. Instead, she handed me a black card at the dining table. "This was what your dad had intended to give you earlier. You can buy whatever you want with it." Cindy Green's fingers were nearly digging through the chopsticks, yet her face still wore an obedient and aggrieved expression. Soon, it was the eve of the debutante ball. and Dad, who had been on a business trip, rushed back early. He still didn't know what had happened, allowing Cindy Green to cling to his arm and coquettishly whine, "Daddy, I want to change into a different gown." Cindy Green didn't want to dress exactly like me. Just a few hours ago, she had thrown my black card on the ground and stomped on it viciously. "Don't even think about climbing the social ladder to become a phoenix. Mom might be going through menopause. Her favorite is only me." I silently picked up the card and tossed it into the drawer, not even bothering to argue with her. Even though she has everything, she's always on guard against me. Could it be that she fears everything before her eyes might just be an illusion? Mom suddenly spoke up. "I've already had someone remake Rainey's dress. This is the perfect opportunity to properly introduce her to everyone. It should be even more grand." Dad was stunned. Then even a little delighted. "You've come around." He had always felt guilty toward me and had long wanted to announce my status publicly, but couldn't persuade Mom. Mom stroked my hair and said, "Rainey has made us proud. The coming-of-age ceremony will also celebrate her admission to a university. None of those kids born with silver spoons in their mouths can compare to her." I was shocked by her change in attitude. Back when I got my results, she clearly looked down on them. Instead, she gently comforted Cindy Green, who only passed the vocational college cutoff, saying, "Let your dad arrange for you to study abroad. You can go to any school you want. After all, you'll be taking over the family business after graduation. Everything your parents have is yours." Her words still ring in my ears, yet now Mom has gone back on them. If Rainey is willing to take over after graduating from college, let your dad have a good rest for a few years. If she wants to venture out on her own, Mom and Dad will be her strongest support. Her future plans seemed to only include the three of us as a family, which made Cindy Green, standing nearby, feel increasingly wronged. She walked over and suddenly knelt down in front of Mom, tears already falling appropriately. "Mom, is there something about me that you don't like? I'll change whatever it is. Mom, please don't abandon me." Dad walked over to help her up, but she remained motionless, only crying. Mom, however, kept a cold expression. "I didn't say I don't want you. I just don't want to spoil you like before. I often wonder if I've spoiled you too much, making you." She didn't finish her sentence, pausing for a moment before changing the subject. "I know you want to study abroad with Harry. Your dad will arrange everything, but we can't support you forever. I hope you start planning early and find time to visit your mom." The foster mother had completed her treatment and moved into an old house, with a substantial amount of savings. Mom said, "She raised you so well. I must have a conscience and can't let her rely on scavenging for a living in the future." At the coming-of-age ball, I was dressed up like a little princess. Hearing that the diamond necklace around my neck was something Dad had previously won at an auction, I became even more cautious. All eyes were fixed on me, speculating about my relationship with the Green family. It wasn't until Cindy Green walked in proudly arm in arm with Harry that I finally breathed a small sigh of relief. The overseas study arrangements had already been settled, though Dad had originally planned to buy an apartment for Cindy Green there, only to be stopped by Mom. "Just rent one. She's going there to study, not to live permanently." Cindy Green seemed to relax upon hearing this, and I guessed she must have assumed Mom couldn't bear to part with her and would call her back after a few years. But when she heard that Mom had already bought a luxury apartment for me near the school, she was so angry that she went on a hunger strike for several days. "Mom, why are you treating us differently? I'm your daughter too." But Mom remained unfazed. "I don't see anything wrong with it. It'll be useful sooner or later." For a while, I suspected that, unbeknownst to me, the mother and daughter were engaged in a silent battle. Perhaps my mother wanted to use me to rid Cindy Green of her arrogance, but on the way to the dance, my mother dispelled my concerns. "The area near your school is excellent. I'll be visiting you often in the future, so buying a place there won't be a loss. Who knows, it might even become our final home together." At the time, I didn't understand the meaning behind her words. The Green family's properties were spread everywhere. There was no need to prepare for a rainy day. Only later, when Mom's worries all came true, did I find myself admiring her. The spotlight of the ball was originally on Cindy Green, until Dad called me up on stage. It seemed as if the gears of fate had completely shifted. "Taking this opportunity, we'd like to introduce our daughter, Rainey Green, who is also this year's city valedictorian and has been admitted to a university." Mom waved at me from the side, smiling with unusual tenderness. "Rainey is our biological daughter. We only found out 2 years ago that the babies were switched at birth." I forced myself to walk onto the stage as the crowd buzzed with whispers around me. So Cindy Green is actually a fake heiress. The Hudson family mentioned marriage plans in a couple of years. Guess that's not happening now, huh? The so-called fake heiress was glaring at me with a face ashen with rage. Her lips nearly bitten to the point of drawing blood. In that instant, I experienced what it truly felt like to rise from obscurity to prominence. Noble young men from various families vied for the chance to dance with me, and even Harry shamelessly handed me a glass of red wine. My previous offenses were all due to Cindy Green's failure to clarify. Had I known you were from the Green family, a biological daughter wouldn't have been cornered in the water room and slapped repeatedly by them. Perhaps noticing my dark expression, Harry guiltily rubbed his nose and said, "If you ever need anything in the future, just say the word." I had no intention of engaging with him and turned to leave, only to feel someone in the crowd deliberately stick out a foot to trip me. The dress was too long, and I nearly fell to my knees, but a strong arm instantly caught me. Looking up, the person before me looked somewhat familiar, yet I couldn't recall their name. He gave an awkward smile. "Little cousin, we've met once before. You might have forgotten." Mom was already hurrying toward me, and she frowned the moment she saw him. "Auntie," he began, but Mom had already taken my hand and walked away without looking back. "Keep your distance from him. The whole family is no good." It suddenly occurred to me that I had indeed seen him before, when I first arrived at the Green family. He and his uncle came to borrow money from my father, opening his mouth to ask for tens of millions. It was an astronomical figure to me. Dad didn't refuse outright but simply said with a smile, "Kevin, bring me a feasible business plan. Empty promises won't convince me of your entrepreneurial skills." Kevin, my mother's own nephew, at that time, she was helping Kevin put immense pressure on my father, and in the end, those tens of millions seemed to have safely landed in my uncle's pocket. But now, she seems to wish she had nothing to do with them, even looking at Kevin with utter disgust in her eyes. Not long after the coming-of-age ceremony, I went to school early to register, which was actually my mother's suggestion. "Go over there and get settled first. If everything goes well in a while, your father and I will come stay with you for a few months." Before leaving, she also accompanied me to visit my foster mother, thanks to the caregiver's attentive care. She looked to be in good health with a rosy complexion, though she seemed somewhat reluctant to let me go. Mom kept reminding her, "If Cindy Green comes looking for you, don't give her any money. You have to trust that we won't let her go hungry." The adoptive mother's gaze wandered for a moment, her agreement somewhat perfunctory. I actually felt a bit awkward, only carefully tugging at Mom's sleeve. After all, the adoptive mother and Cindy Green were biological mother and daughter. So her reminder seemed somewhat unnecessary. Mom has been distracted and upset lately. I've encountered her snapping at Dad more than once. "Is there really any business trip that requires you to travel all over the place? Can't it be resolved online? Do you know how many people die in plane crashes every year?" Dad couldn't help but laugh at her. "Do you even know how low the probability of a plane crash is? You're not even that old yet. Why are you suddenly so concerned about your life?" Her reminders to me were endless and often a bit jumbled. One moment she'd warn me not to secretly take on part-time jobs behind her back, telling me to ask her for money whenever I needed it. One moment she says my phone should always be fully charged so she can reach me anytime. The most outrageous part was when she told me that no matter what happens at home, my safety comes first. Don't act impulsively. I think she still doesn't quite understand me. I've never been an impulsive child since I was little. Even when it was time to take me to the airport, she still held on to me reluctantly. I really hate myself for being so blind back then, for turning a blind eye to my own flesh and blood. Rainy, please don't hate your mom anymore, okay? I truly want to spend this lifetime loving and cherishing you properly. Actually, I stopped hating her long ago. Perhaps from the very beginning, I never really hated her, just felt some grievances and sorrow. Why didn't my own mother love me? But these days of being together, I seem to have absorbed the warmth from her, especially seeing how devotedly she cares for her foster mother. Even my grievances are almost vanishing. In the week before my registration, Mom would video call me almost every day. She was afraid I might be bullied by classmates, though I never told her before how Cindy Green had bullied me. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, if anyone dares to trip you up in the future. Just tell Mom. But after more than half a month into the new semester, my calls always went unanswered. The same went for the house, which made me feel like something major might have happened. Even the servants wouldn't all be away from home at the same time. I even tried calling Cindy Green, but she hung up immediately, and when I called back, her phone was turned off. I didn't know what had happened until my adoptive mother called me. It felt like the sky was falling in that instant. My adoptive mother stammered, "Rainy, come back quickly. If you don't return soon, I'm afraid you won't be able to see your parents again." I immediately bought a plane ticket to return, feeling dazed the entire way, unsure of how to even place my hands and feet. On the very day I had gone to report for duty with a heart full of joy, the flight my father was on met with an accident. No one survived on the plane. The family villa caught fire in the middle of the night, and Mom fell down the stairs. She was rushed to the hospital but still hasn't regained consciousness. Cindy Green, who was supposed to be studying abroad, was called upon in this crisis and has already taken over the Green family's business. I went straight to the hospital after getting off the plane and saw Mom, looking utterly exhausted, lying in the hospital bed. There were still some scratches on her face, and she lay with her eyes closed as if asleep. In the hospital room, there was only an unfamiliar middle-aged woman who said she was a temporary caregiver hired by the Green family. "Where are the family's servants, the driver?" The caregiver said that only a young girl had come by twice. I went to see Cindy Green, but she avoided me, and the person sent to chase me away turned out to be Kevin. He looked at me with a smile. "Little cousin, if I were you, I'd stay far away and not get involved in this mess. After all, Auntie must have given you plenty of benefits." He told me not to waste my effort, saying that Dad's will, made long ago, clearly stated everything was to be left to Cindy Green. Good thing I didn't listen to my foolish old man. If I had tried to please you back then, where would I be sitting in the vice president's seat now? He leaned in close to me with an extremely lecherous grin. "Your mom probably didn't tell you, but my dad is actually my stepfather. We share no blood relation at all, if you're willing to obey me obediently. I won't forget to share the good life with you later." His hand was already sliding shamelessly toward my waist, and I quickly dodged away in disgust. When I returned to the hospital, my mother was lying on the sickbed, while the caregiver flipped through a magazine with an utterly bored expression. She stood up and stretched out a hand toward me. "Pay me my wages, you'll have to find someone else from now on. The hospital has been pressing for payment several times. But that girl won't answer her phone, everyone keeps coming to ask me about it. It's utterly baffling." I settled her wages and then rushed to pay the medical fees. That night, while keeping watch over my mother, I dozed off without realizing it. In my daze, I felt what seemed like a hand touching my face, thinking it was just a dream. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my skin. Mom, you're awake." Mom looked at me with a smile. "Don't be scared, I'm perfectly fine." As I watched her pull out the 4-tube from her hand, I couldn't help but doubt her mental state, but her next sentence sent chills down my spine. "Your dad is fine too. He never boarded that flight." It sounded like a fairy tale to me. Mom said she once had a dream long ago where she kicked me out of the house. To pay for her medical treatment, I skipped college and spent all my money on her care. Cindy Green was sent abroad to study, but Harry got engaged to someone else and never went with her, because her identity as a fake heiress was discovered by the Hudson family. Her engagement to Harry was put on hold by the Hudsons. She vented all her rage like a madwoman onto her parents. "If you hadn't brought Rainy Green back, no one would have known about this." To make matters worse, her father encountered a plane crash while on a business trip. Cindy Green colluded with Kevin, using the will Dad had drawn up years ago to take over all the Green family's businesses. They even forged signatures to make Mom relinquish her shares. Mom got into an argument with her, and during the struggle, Cindy Green pushed Mom down the stairs. That fire was also set by her. She had intended to burn Mom to death and be done with it. But the driver she had dismissed came back to beg not to be laid off for the sake of his family's livelihood and unexpectedly saved Mom, but she became a vegetable due to severe injuries and inhaling large amounts of smoke. Cindy Green ignored her completely and soon even stopped covering the medical expenses. "Rainy, only you gave up everything to take care of me, working multiple jobs and even selling blood to ensure I received the best treatment." Mom's eyes welled up with tears as she spoke. Overwhelmed with sorrow, later, Cindy Green wanted to pull the plug on my life support to ensure she could fully inherit the Green family's entire fortune. "It was you who knelt on the ground, begging her desperately," but she remained unmoved. "She even developed murderous intentions toward you, because only with you dead would she rightfully become the sole heir. She ordered Kevin to strangle you." I shuddered upon hearing this and quickly interrupted her. "Mom, stop talking, it's too scary." "It's okay, these are just things from a dream." Mom let out a soft sigh. Yes, thankfully it was just a dream. There's still time." At the Green family's shareholders meeting, Cindy Green, dressed in a perfectly tailored business suit, couldn't hide the smugness on her face. Kevin sat to her right, tightly gripping her hand through the folder. Once the vote passed, they would become the de facto controllers of the Green family. Yet as the shareholders filed in one by one, each wore a grave expression. The door was about to close when a large hand stopped it. Dad was the first to walk in, and I followed closely behind, gripping Mom's hand tightly. Green, some turned pale with shock, while others instantly looked ashen-faced. Cindy Green stood up in terror. Dad, you, don't call me Dad. I don't have such a capable daughter like you. Dad walked over and tossed her aside like a chick, then took the main seat. Kevin beside him had already panicked, standing up and backing away. When he saw Mom and me, his face instantly turned pale. Mom pulled me over to sit down. Both my husband and I are alive and well. Is there still a need to hold this shareholders meeting? The attendees shook their heads one after another, standing up and filing out of the room. After the last person had left, I stood up and closed the door. Cindy Green still seemed unable to recover from the shock, murmuring, "How is this possible? That plane crash?" Dad snorted coldly. "Are you trying to say that since I was clearly on the list, why didn't I die, my dear daughter? So you've been wishing for my death all along." I already knew that day Mom desperately held him back from boarding the plane, and they even had a huge argument at the airport over it. Cindy Green slumped to the ground in a daze, then suddenly glared at her mother with anger. "Then why did you lie to me? You said something happened to Dad. You were the one who said it." Her mother glared at her coldly. "If I hadn't tricked you, how would I have known you were so eager to seize the family fortune? You even forged signatures behind my back to take all the Green family's assets. When you pushed me down the stairs, were you feeling triumphant, thinking everything was already in your grasp?" "I didn't. It was an accident. I didn't mean to push you." She continued to deny it outright. But her mother wasn't about to let her off. "An accident? Wasn't it you who couldn't wait to kick me twice when you saw I'd passed out? Wasn't it you who cursed and threatened to burn the house down? I must have been blind to raise you for 18 years. Even a dog would wag its tail at me, but you'd rather wipe us all out." Cindy Green suddenly came to her senses. "You were pretending, but how did you know?" Mom didn't mention her dream. She said that from the moment she realized she had raised an ungrateful child. She had been quietly preparing for this day. Cindy Green collapsed to the ground, and after a long pause, she suddenly burst into tears and clutched at Mom's pant leg. "Mom, I was momentarily blinded by greed, but why did you have to say in front of so many people that I wasn't your real child? Harry dumped me without a second thought. I'm still your daughter. Why did you suddenly stop loving me? I just wanted you to love me like before. I never intended to scheme for the family fortune. It was all Kevin's doing. He kept pushing me, saying I wasn't your real child and that if I didn't act, I'd be thrown out one day." Kevin, who had been trembling nearby, suddenly jumped up and slapped Cindy Green hard across the face. "You bitch, it was you who seduced me first, saying that since your aunt and uncle had found their real daughter, you had to ruin them, or you'd never get a single penny." The vile insults led Cindy Green to lunge at him, and the two began to scuffle. But soon, the police, who had been waiting outside, rushed in. Mother held my arm, her smile seeming to carry a hint of relief. "We still don't have a family portrait. Come on, I've booked a photographer." My adoptive mother didn't plead for Cindy Green. She just held my mother's hand in shame, saying, "I'm too ashamed to face you." Mother reached out and hugged her. "I'm too ashamed to face you too. It's my fault for not raising her well, spoiling her. I really don't know how to make it up to you," the foster mother said. "Everyone has their own fate, and there's no one to blame." Only when seeing her off, she uneasily held my hand and asked anxiously, "Will she be sentenced to death?" I didn't know how to answer, so I could only comfort her by saying we'd hire a good lawyer for Cindy Green. But the foster mother waved her hand. "Don't get involved in this matter. Don't put yourself in a difficult position." She left. And upon learning that my mother is now treating me well, she seemed to have a weight lifted off her shoulders as well. Everything seemed to return to calm, and indeed, my mother stayed with me near the school for several months. Whether it was a slip of the tongue or something else, she mentioned that when I brought her here before, we could only afford to live in the cheapest basement. I was really afraid it would be like that time again, so I bought this apartment for you early on. Cindy Green might be locked up for a very, very long time. Although Kevin tried desperately to distance himself, the evidence left no room for his excuses. Many years later, Mom had grown so old that she hardly liked to move around anymore. She gently rubbed my palm and quietly told me, Rainy, it wasn't actually a dream, Mom was reborn. Thankfully, this time I didn't push you away. If only it had been earlier. Starting from the moment you were born, I would have loved you more fiercely, cherished you more deeply, and never let you suffer so much hardship. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I am the true heiress of a wealthy family. The night before returning, I dreamed that my three brothers favored the fake heiress, who turned out to be heartless and ungrateful, ultimately leading to their disfigurement and disability. It's hard to judge. I didn't play any role in it. My name is Nina, and I grew up in an orphanage. Just today, I was informed that I am a child of the Lincoln family. In the living room, Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln and their three sons were present. But the fake heiress was not. Mrs. Lincoln looked troubled. Nina. Jenny is kind and innocent, and she definitely wouldn't be able to accept that she's not our child. So, Mr. Lincoln said, you will return as an illegitimate daughter. The eldest, John, said coldly, it's just a title, you'll get what's due to you. The second son, Leo, muttered under his breath, Jenny is my real sister. Is this whole family crazy? I sipped my milk and turned to Carl, who had been staring at me from beside me. The milk was given to me by him. He quickly waved his hands. I'm not with them, that's for the best. Ignoring the astonished gazes of the other four, Carl cautiously approached me. Nina, let's go out together. Okay, third brother earns a lot of money, definitely enough to support both of us. Oh, there are actually normal people here. Great, let's go now. Carl excitedly grabbed my bag. Yeah, Mrs. Lincoln frowned. Carl pulled me behind him. I didn't even reach his shoulder. Couldn't see, absolutely couldn't see. All I could do was stare at Carl's white shirt. Mom, I can't bear to let Nina get involved with someone of that status, protecting me like this on our first meeting. Leo spoke in a very unpleasant tone. Have you thought about Jenny? Of course, Carl replied with righteous indignation. She enjoyed over 20 years of happiness that should have been Nina's, and when Nina returned, she even tried to keep what rightfully belongs to Nina. Exactly, Leo was furious. What kind of talk is that? Jenny didn't want this either. She's innocent too. Carl grew increasingly agitated. Innocent? Then who was it that persuaded you to make Nina an illegitimate child? Couldn't they have been twins? Even an adopted daughter would sound better than an illegitimate child. As the atmosphere grew increasingly tense and I was about to pull Carl away, a sob came from behind us. Third brother, how could you think of Jenny that way? I instinctively wanted to look back. But Carl suddenly pressed my head into his chest. My nose. What are you doing? Carl released me and awkwardly rubbed my nose. Sorry, got nervous. You okay? I glared at him, turned around, and saw Jenny with her flawless makeup, crying pitifully like a pear blossom bathed in rain. She looked so pitiful. Jenny looked at Carl with tearful eyes. Third brother. Carl ignored her and leaned in to whisper in my ear. Don't you dare sympathize with her. She's the bad one. Do I seem overly sympathetic? I tugged at Carl. Let's go. Actually, just last night, I had a dream. In the dream, Jenny didn't know she and I were switched at birth and genuinely thought I was Mr. Lincoln's illegitimate child. So, Carl misunderstood her. She wasn't intentionally misleading. I didn't accept the identity of an illegitimate child and left the Lincoln family directly. No one stood up for me, including Carl. They all revolved around Jenny. Who do you think I am, even if I'm an orphan? I've achieved some success now. What's the big deal about not having family? Besides, this kind of family found along the way, they're just passing through. After I left, Jenny stole the Lincoln family's secrets for the person she loved. Later, the Lincoln family went bankrupt. The Lincolns died. John broke his leg. Leo broke his arm. Carl was disfigured. It's so tragic. I thought I'd come to see if the dream might be real. Because before having this dream, I had never seen John and the others. If it were real, I wanted to try to save them. Alas, what a pity, given their attitude toward me. Why should I bother with this effort? They wouldn't believe me even if I told them. I accompanied Carl to the film set. He's an actor, and he's really popular. Carl's assistant, Charles, brought a small stool for me, and we watched Carl act together. Charles kept sighing in my ear, saying how handsome Carl looked in costume and how great his acting was, with every word spoken. They'd tilt their head to gauge my reaction. I sipped my milk tea while nodding along like a pecking chick. Truly, so good-looking, just like me. Little girl, would you be interested in making a cameo appearance? The director walked up to me, smiling as he looked at me. I stared at Carl and shook my head. The director handed me some snacks and then left. I just gave half of my snacks to Charles when someone else arrived. Hello. I looked up with candy in my mouth. She was wearing an extremely ornate costume that didn't quite seem to match the tone of Carl's play. Hello, she looks familiar, but I don't think I've seen her in any shows. Not sure. Let me think again. Charles quickly stood up and offered his seat. Lucy, please have a seat. She ignored Charles, and from my angle I could see her hand tightly gripping the hem of her clothes. Are you Carl's girlfriend? What a blunt question. No. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Then who are you? I didn't answer her directly. Based on my experience, she probably, maybe, possibly likes Carl. What's it got to do with you? Go ask Carl. Why come asking me? If I were Carl's girlfriend, wouldn't that be incredibly rude of her? Her face turned beet red, looking like she was about to cry. Probably her agent, who glanced at us a couple times before directing the blame at me. Even if you're Carl's girlfriend, you can't bully people like this. I waited a few seconds, but she just stood there, making it seem like I was actually bullying her. Charles was stunned for a moment but quickly snapped out of it and stepped in front of me. You've misunderstood. We weren't bullying her. Just as I was about to speak, Carl's voice came from behind them. What's going on here? Carl squatted down beside me and casually took a candy from my hand. The agent said indignantly and condescendingly, Carl, your assistant and this woman bullied our Linda. Charles angrily replied, we already said we didn't bully her. Carl's face darkened. What do you mean, this woman? This is my sister. My sister wouldn't bully anyone for no reason. You must have provoked her first. The girl remained silent, her eyes fixed on Carl with unmistakable infatuation. I stroked my chin in thought, my gaze repeatedly darting to the girl's face. She looked so familiar. Where had I? It came to me, in the dream. She seemed to be standing beside Jenny, except for Carl, his two brothers, and Jenny. Everyone else in the dream was quite blurry. Then she probably, maybe, possibly isn't a good person. I tugged at Carl's sleeve, cleared my throat, and said in an exaggeratedly coy tone, she likes you. Carl said to the girl very bluntly, I don't like you. The girl was still stuck on the previous topic. Don't you only have Jenny as your sister? Nonsense. Carl grabbed my wrist. She's my only sister. Back in Carl's lounge, he looked at me with unusual seriousness. I also looked at him intently and spoke before he could. Stay away from her, or you'll regret it. Carl stared at me in shock, hesitating to speak. What? He thought for a moment. How about Big Brother cooks today? That's quite a sudden change of topic, isn't it? I looked at him puzzled. Sure, whatever you want to do. He let out a long sigh. It left me feeling utterly baffled. Remember, don't go near her. Got it, I'll deal with her tomorrow. I nodded, then turned to meet Charles's utterly confused gaze. I thought for a moment, then grabbed a pack of candy and stuffed it into his hand. Charles, don't let any scheming women near my brother from now on. Charles looked at the candy in his hand, then at me, his gaze gradually firming. Carl spoke up quietly, Nina, you've never called me brother before. I turned to him and smiled. Brother. The next day, I followed Carl to the film set. I didn't see that girl anymore. Well, with the Lincoln family's influence, replacing an actor is just a matter of minutes, right? The film set was also a bit boring. After going a few times, I didn't want to follow Carl there anymore. On my first day alone at Carl's house, I was greeted by two unexpected visitors, John and Leo. The three of us silently stared at each other. Aunt Jane came over with some fruit and said, Young masters, I've already called Ah Huai, he'll be back soon. Aunt Jane winked at me as I left. The two of them calmly took out their phones and muted them, like covering one's ears to steal a bell. Why do they seem a bit slow on the uptake? Don't I have a phone? I answered Carl's video call. Carl was removing makeup in the car, apparently having rushed back immediately after receiving Aunt Jane's call. Nina, what did they say? I turned the screen towards the two brothers. Leo leaned lazily against the sofa, exasperated, didn't even get a chance to say anything. What are you guys here for? Leo flashed a standard smile. Just came to see our little sister. John still had that cold and indifferent demeanor. We've discussed it with our parents and decided to let Nina return as an adopted daughter. I scoffed lightly. Not interested. Carl said, right, we're not interested. Carl suddenly let out a light chuckle on the other end, then said with an ambiguous tone, Big brother, second brother, I reckon you'll regret this before long. What's the deeper meaning? After Carl returned, those two still hadn't planned to leave. Carl sat on the same side as me, smiling. Big bro and second bro still not leaving. Leo said, "What, can't we stay for a meal?" Carl continued to smile kindly. "You do it." John was speechless. Leo was speechless. Kitchen. I glanced at the two obviously experienced individuals, then looked at the person standing at the kitchen doorway without taking a single step inside, and asked in confusion, "Didn't you say earlier that you were going to cook?" Carl coughed awkwardly. Leo burst into merciless laughter. "Pfft, even dogs wouldn't eat what he makes." I stared at Carl expressionlessly. "What did you mean earlier? Using me as a poison tester?" Carl's eyes darted around before he hugged me. Big brother was just joking around. As sharp as I am, of course I noticed something was off about Carl. Everyone else was just like in the dream, but he was different. He doesn't love Jenny anymore. Could it be that he also had a dream? Or, if the dream was real, then maybe he was reborn. Whatever. He treats me well anyway. After a period of peaceful days, someone came again. Aunt Jane went out to buy groceries. I opened the door and didn't even want to let Jenny in. Just stood at the doorway to talk. Jenny glared at me discontentedly. "What are you doing? Can't I come in? This is my brother's house." "Humph." I shook my head. "No, I don't like you, and my brother doesn't like you now either. Why should I let you in?" Let's not even talk about Carl for now. But as for me, why should I like her? Even if I hadn't had that dream, I could still hate her. The baby swap wasn't her fault, but the truth is, she enjoyed over 20 years of happiness in my place, while I suffered for over 20 years in hers. And even if life isn't hard now, it's because I earned it myself. Can't I dislike her? Of course you can. Jenny was furious. "What nonsense are you talking? Third brother likes me the most." I impatiently tapped on the doorframe. "What do you want?" Jenny stomped her foot angrily. "How can you keep living at third brother's house?" I refused to back down. "What business is it of yours if I live at my brother's place? This is my brother. You should move out." I narrowed my eyes slightly to size her up and suddenly understood. In the dream, after I left, the fact that she wasn't the biological daughter of the Lincoln family was quietly dropped, and no one ever brought it up again. I flashed her a nuclear-friendly smile. "They haven't told you yet, have they?" "What? You're not the Lincoln family's child." "I am." Jenny's pupils trembled with shock. "What nonsense are you talking about? That's the truth. Go ask your parents." "Mom and Dad said you're an illegitimate child." "Wasn't that just to spare your feelings?" Carl told me later that when they were discussing my identity, Jenny overheard and casually remarked, "Is she Dad's illegitimate daughter?" I have always refrained from assuming the worst about others. This is malicious insinuation, but the Lincolns and their brothers just doted on her. I don't know if Jenny is love-struck or just plain wicked, to ruin her own family for a man, in her dreams. She never knew she wasn't a Lincoln child, still clinging to the belief that children owe no gratitude to parents. Now you know, you should at least feel a bit of gratitude toward the Lincoln family, if you have any conscience left. "Don't steal their confidential information again," Jenny muttered in disbelief. Then, I saw her glance to the side and take a few steps back without hesitation. Behind her were the steps, so naturally, she twisted her ankle. After all, it was only 5 steps. Then she fell to the ground, silently shedding tears. I also silently watched as Leo quickly approached, tenderly helping Jenny up. I sighed. So Jenny was just bad from the start. Before Leo could react, I pointed to the corner. "There's a surveillance camera here." Jenny desperately tried to stop Leo from checking the footage. I pulled up the surveillance video on my phone. "See clearly, it was your sister Jenny who fell by herself. I suspect she's even trying to frame me for it. By the way, I've already told her she's not a child of the Lincoln family. If she were kind and innocent, she should know she has no right to act so arrogantly in front of me. Please keep an eye on her and don't let her come looking for trouble with me again." I went on a rant, and Leo seemed completely dumbfounded by what I said. I slammed the door shut, suddenly thinking of Carl. I opened the door and glared at Jenny. "And don't come looking for my brother again either." With that, I quickly shut the door. Through the surveillance, I saw Leo standing outside the door for a few minutes. During that time, Jenny kept speaking anxiously, while Leo seemed distracted and ignored her. If Leo wasn't being brainless, he should have realized that Jenny isn't as innocent and kind as she appears. After they left, I made a phone call to Carl. The voice on the phone sounded slightly doting. "Nina, what's wrong?" "Jenny and Leo came just now, and I chased them away." The voice on the other end raised in volume. Well done. Then it added, Nina. If they come again when I'm not around, don't open the door for them, let them wait to death. I think I'll finish work pretty early today. Let's go out for dinner tonight, and maybe do some shopping while we're at it. I'm almost done shooting this drama. After it's finished, I'll take some time off. Let's go on a trip. Sigh. I really like the feeling of having someone unconditionally on my side too. After returning from the trip, I suddenly realized that my manga career seems to have been neglected for too long. I don't plan to accompany Carl to the film set until I catch up with my progress. Today, while I was drawing at home, I received a call from Carl. He said Jenny and Leo had a car accident, and he was going to check on them, so he wouldn't be back tonight. After hanging up the phone, I thought about it. In the dream, Leo had a car accident and his hand was disabled, which happened after the Lincoln family went bankrupt. So now, there shouldn't be any major issues, right? The next day, Carl called me. There was silence on the other end for a while. I took a wild guess. Is Leo badly injured? A hoarse voice came from the other end. Nina. It was Leo. I want to see you. What do you want to see me for? I couldn't help but speculate maliciously. Do you need a blood transfusion, or does Jenny need one? There was a commotion on the other end, and I heard Carl's snarl. What do you want with Nina? Leo's voice sounded weary. Carl, you? I can't hear clearly. Is he that weak now? After a while, Carl's voice came through the phone. Nina, you go ahead with your work. I'll be back soon. Oh, okay. I thought for a moment. Do you need me to come over? Carl was silent for a moment, or maybe he had covered the microphone. Nina, I'm here. Let me have Charles pick you up. Okay. Aunt Jane had already prepared the meal outside. I thought for a moment. Bro, have you eaten yet? Carl said, not yet. Aunt Jane has cooked the meal. I'll just bring it over. Great. Aunt Jane only cooks enough for 3 people at a time, so I grabbed a takeout on the way. When we got to the hospital, I checked and Leo seemed fine. I handed the takeout to Leo. The 3 meals were meant for me, Carl, and Aunt Jane. Leo only deserves takeout. Besides, the takeout cost me several $100. I turned around and opened the thermal container with Carl. Carl was grinning, glancing at Leo while eating. After finishing my meal, I sat by Leo's bedside and glanced at his barely touched food. What did you want to see me for? Leo stared at me for a long moment. Nina, my eyes were filled with horror. Since when had we reached a level of familiarity where he could call me that? You've stayed at Carl's place for quite a while now. I was just about to lash out with harsh words. Come stay at my place. Carl was the first to speak harshly, shoving Leo despite him being injured, though it didn't seem to hurt. What did you say? I came here out of kindness to take care of you, and you dare try to steal my sister. She's my sister too. Get lost. Who was it that said Jenny was the only sister before? Leo pressed his lips together and glared at Carl. Despicable. Carl lifted his head slightly with a light hum and pulled me to leave. Leo grabbed my other wrist while tugging at Carl unwillingly with his other hand. Then I'll stay at your place. I glanced at them both, then turned to see Jenny and John standing at the hospital room door. The room fell silent for a moment before Jenny finally broke the quiet. Jenny's voice sounded hurt. Second brother, don't you like Jenny anymore either? Get out. The disgust in Leo's words was extremely obvious. Jenny clung to John's arm, whimpering. John looked at me thoughtfully, casually comforting Jenny. Sigh. I'm tired. I tugged at Carl. Bro, let's go home. Emicham, Carl responded with extreme gentleness. Yet Leo shamelessly clung to me. Nina, take me back with you. Carl pretended to pry Leo's hands away. Stop pulling and tugging like this, while tentatively negotiating with me. Nina, how about, we just bring him along? Whatever. Carl immediately let go of Leo. Hear that? Clean up your own mess. Don't expect Nina to help you. I'm going to handle the discharge procedures. I gave him a helpless look. It's not like I'm blind. I can see he wants to take Leo along. When it was time to leave, John followed as well. He used the concern that Leo might have hit his head and gotten a concussion as an excuse to have the driver take Jenny away first, then naturally got into Carl's car. Carl stared at the 3 of us in the back seat through the rearview mirror. Me, Leo, and John were all squeezed into the back seat, with Carl driving. Charles had already gone home. Leo leaned over me to look at John and said, Big bro, I'm really fine. I don't feel at ease, Carl murmured gloomily. Since when did our plastic brotherhood become so deep? John remained as calm as ever. Starting right now. I looked around hesitantly. I'll take the passenger seat. John didn't wait for me to finish speaking before immediately opening the car door to let me out, incidentally opening the passenger door as well. In the car, I glanced at the two people in the back and pondered to myself. Leo, just knowing that Jenny isn't kind-hearted shouldn't suddenly make you latch onto me. Based on my previous assumptions about Carl, it's possible that he too knew about Jenny's future actions. John, it seems not yet, but Carl and Leo, even if they've started to dislike Jenny, there's no need to get close to me. What if I'm just like Jenny? After Leo moved in with us, he started competing with Aunt Jane for chores. I stood at the kitchen door, watching Aunt Jane's expression of having her role usurped as she stared at the spatula in Leo's hand. Second, young master, I can handle this. It's fine, I'll do it. Leo is doing it very happily. Ha 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 ha. Judging by Aunt Jane's expression, she practically wanted to kick Leo out. It's been a while since I last accompanied Carl to the film set. Today, both Leo and I went with Carl to the set. Now there were three of us sitting on small stools watching Carl film. We were enjoying Carl's performance while cracking melon seeds when the investor of the production team arrived. The three of us glanced around, and that good-looking investor walked straight toward us, just like that female celebrity at the filming location last time. She looked strangely familiar, but I couldn't recall where from at the moment. I deliberately glanced at Leo. His expression was extremely vividly portraying gritted teeth and eyes that seemed almost ready to spit fire. I poked him and asked, "Who is he?" Leo stared intently at the man and said, "Jenny's fiancé." I took a couple more glances at the man. Leo quickly stepped in front of me. "Don't be fooled by his handsome appearance. He's actually no good. Second brother can introduce you to someone better." I rolled my eyes at him. "I was just looking, that's all." The investor dismissed the people surrounding him, exchanged a few pleasantries with Leo, completely ignoring Leo's sour expression. His gaze seemed to linger on me faintly, as if by accident, so I started staring at him while munching on sunflower seeds. "Bring it on, let's see who can outlast whom." He glanced at Leo and said, "I heard that you and Carl prefer the newly found sister." Finally, he gave me a disdainful sidelong glance, probably thinking I haven't been around long enough to be taken seriously, but I held back and didn't speak up for the moment. I silently compared them in my mind. Leo paints traditional Chinese paintings, while Carl works in film production. John is probably still siding with Jenny at this point, which is almost equivalent to siding with her fiancé. Sigh. Without John, I'm not sure if the two of them can afford to provoke this person. As I was weighing my options, Leo retorted quite rudely, "What's it to you? You've been engaged to Jenny for quite a while now. When are you getting married? No rush. Jenny is still young. She's not that young anymore. She's already 25 by Chinese reckoning, practically 30 if you round it up, just turned 23 years old." I hate the Chinese age reckoning. Then they had another heated argument, but honestly, I didn't hear anything valuable, until Carl came over. His reaction was much stronger than Leo's. He clenched his fists looking like he wanted to throw a punch. But I rushed over and stopped him. "Public figures shouldn't be hitting people like this. Calm down." "I can't calm down at all. Seriously, letting Leo do it doesn't seem right. What if he hurts his hand? Maybe I should step in." "Calm down a bit." He suddenly looked at me strangely. "What do I need to calm down about? You look like you want to hit someone." "Not hitting anyone." I understand his subtext. It's not people he wants to hit. That investor left. Carl and Leo huddled together, whispering, but I didn't catch a single word. I pulled Carl and Leo to sit on the sofa. "I've been thinking about it for a long time. I suspect they know something, and they probably suspect that I might know something too. Might as well just lay it all out." Carl and Leo exchanged glances before looking at me. "Nina, what do you want to say?" I weighed my words carefully. Better not mention his disfigurement for now. "I know the Lincoln family will go bankrupt in a year." Their faces instantly turned pale. Leo said, You've been reborn too." "Reborn? Ah, expected. But something's off with him." His voice trembled at the end. "That's not the case." My gaze swept over them, deeply intrigued. "When exactly did you two get reborn?" Carl spoke rapidly. "For me, it was the day before you arrived at the Lincoln family. For him, it was the day of the car accident." "How did you know?" I pursed my lips. What I really wanted to ask was why they had been reborn and how far they had progressed in their previous lives before being reborn. "I just had a dream," Leo asked. "What did you dream about?" Seeing how anxious they looked, I told them everything. After I finished speaking, I could clearly see the relief on their faces. With my keen intuition, do you also know what happened after that? And what followed must have been related to me. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense why they came back from Rebirth to treat me so well. You saved us. I glanced at the two of them, their expressions looking rather unpleasant. Let's change the subject then. John hasn't been reborn yet. Mentioning this, their faces immediately took on a completely different expression. Their eyes were gleaming with excitement. Leo said, "How about we hit him with the car?" I replied, "Jail." Leo's eyes lit up as he pulled out his car keys. Alas, no brains, but plenty of guts. Carl said, "That's criminal. You'd bump off the boss to inherit the fortune." "Oh wait, no, you'd just end up in jail." Carl sighed and put his arm around me. "Nina. Looks like we're the ones inheriting the fortune," I said. "It's hard to say whether there's any family property for us to inherit." Leo was speechless. The next day, while accompanying Carl to the film set, we unexpectedly ran into Jenny. She came trotting over in a light green dress, calling out, "Second brother, third brother." Carl's face darkened. "What are you doing here?" "I'm playing your sister." Charles looked confused. "Huh, sister? The male lead doesn't seem to have a sister." Jenny tucked her stray hair behind her ear, looking somewhat embarrassed. The screenwriter added a new character. At that very moment, someone handed the new script to Carl. Carl looked at the person expressionlessly. "Who are you?" I am the new director." "Oh ho, so this is the power of capital." Carl kept a straight face without speaking. Leo got angry. "I can't take it anymore. I'm not filming." Jenny's eyes welled up with tears. Looking utterly wronged, Carl said, "Film." Before Jenny could even smile, I quietly added the following words. I said, "If we don't film it, we'll have to pay the penalty for breach of contract." Leo's anger instantly subsided. "You're right, we can't just give them money for nothing." While filming this series, Carl could hardly bear to look Jenny in the eye, and Leo kept making sarcastic remarks. "Jenny doesn't seem to have done anything yet. Are we being a bit too harsh?" "Damn it," Leo suddenly cursed while looking at his phone, and when I leaned over, he immediately put it away. That was too obvious. I took out my phone. Lincoln family group's true and fake heiresses. The real heiress bullies the fake one on set. This topic was trending at the top of the hot search list. It included photos, Jenny and me standing together, her bowing her head in tears in front of me, along with Carl and Leo's impatient expressions toward her. What a perfect shot. She only shed tears in front of me for a second. They were both impatient with her, but that's because she can't act. Gossip-loving netizens are so into this kind of thing. It totally hits their sweet spot. Oh ho, the real and fake heiresses. Post more, post more. How could I, the award-winning actor, possibly dislike anyone for no reason? It's all the fake heiress's fault. Carl's die-hard fan. Now that the real heiress is back, with both brothers immediately siding with her, the fake heiress must be having a hard time. I feel sorry for her. 9 times out of 10, it was Jenny's doing, attempting to use public opinion against us. Suddenly I feel they're not being excessive at all. My previous thoughts were practically saintly. Evil people need evil to deal with them, but some comments are still attacking Jenny. This show has source material, and her character wasn't in the original book. Fans have already started cursing her. She tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice. After looking through everything, I only found a few sarcastic remarks aimed at me. Nothing serious. Leo grumbled beside me. It must be Jenny who bought the trending topic. I glanced at him, and then what? Your big brother is on her side. What can you do even if you're angry? Can you confront him directly? Leo clutched his head in agony. If only I had joined the company back then. We're heading to the dressing room to find Carl. Charles, who had been staring at his phone, suddenly excitedly squeezed between us. Bro posted on social media. We pulled out our phones as we walked. Carl posted a group photo of the 3 of us with the caption, "A family should stay together." Netizens are buzzing again. Looking closely, this little sister really resembles her brother. Little sister, open the door. I'm your sister-in-law. Which sister-in-law are you referring to upstairs? Don't be too greedy. I'll take that sister away. Carl only replied with this, "Please roll away," in a ball shape. Seeing his reply made netizens even more excited. It immediately pushed Jenny's trending topic off the top spot. Actually, Jenny is also jumping around everywhere, but she doesn't have a fan base, so no one really pays attention to her, except for some overly compassionate people who think this fake heiress has suffered. But no one is indulging her. Oh, come on, what do you mean by fake heiress? It means she was born into a poor family and got lucky by taking someone else's place. I'll only stand with the real heiress in this lifetime. I don't even read novels where the female lead is a fake heiress. Same as above. When we entered the dressing room, Carl had just finished removing his makeup. He came over to take my phone. Babe, support me. I handed him the phone and sprawled on his chair. So comfortable. Over there, Leo was also tapping away on his phone. Support. He wouldn't be posting something on my social media, would he? I jolted upright in shock and pried Carl's slightly stiff hand away. Rich Nina, third brother up. This is my main account. Replying to Carl's comment. Am I dreaming? Did I just see my favorite novel author? Carl said sheepishly. I didn't notice. Too guilty to even finish the sentence. After a moment's thought, I said, it's fine, let it be exposed. No harm done. You're the younger sister. Ah, damn it. No wonder you've been slacking off lately. You've already struck it rich. Nonsense. I've only slacked off once or twice. Does Nina look down on our measly offerings now? I want it, even if it's just these few scraps. I was in the middle of explaining when I suddenly saw it again. John sent a question mark. What are you butting in for? Carl bent down. Big bro. What are you doing? Netizens watching the excitement. Oh ho ho ho. No big bro in the group photo, Leo said. Big bro is from the fake heiress's side. His words sparked another round of discussion. The wealthy family is a bit chaotic, shocking. Second brother, third brother, sister, I still stand with you. I looked at Leo, who was beaming at his phone. I just asked the eldest brother to take down Jenny's trending topic. So, you stabbed them in the back after using them. When the three of us arrived at the doorstep, John's car was parked right in front. He himself was leaning against the hood, looking kinda handsome, perfect for drawing into a comic. He walked straight towards us. Nina, Reborn, I'll deal with the Jenny and Miller families as soon as possible. I nodded. Somehow, I felt a sense of mission accomplished. All three brothers rejected Jenny, especially John, who forcibly removed Jenny from the Lincoln family registry. John held the most authority in the Lincoln family, no matter how Jenny whined or cried to the Lincoln couple. It was useless, but perhaps due to the Lincolns, he temporarily refrained from expelling Jenny from the Lincoln family. John's office, Leo said. Why not just kick her out? John gave him a casual glance. I suspect she might still help Alex Miller. This time, we need both witnesses and evidence. Alex Miller is the investor from last time, Jenny's fiancé. If we catch Jenny stealing confidential information, we can sue her. Carl asked. What about the Miller family? John replied. A bit tricky. But manageable. That's good, except for John. The three of us were sprawled on the couch. All right, now everything's fine. Carl said. Yeah, now can you tell me what I did after you went bankrupt in your previous life? I guessed that perhaps I couldn't bear to see their misery and ended up helping them. No one spoke for a long while. I looked around and suddenly sat up straight. Why were their eyes all red? This makes me feel really uncomfortable. I'm perfectly fine here. But the way they look at me makes it seem like I'm about to die. Your past lives have nothing to do with me now. You may have been reborn, but I haven't. Ultimately, it was Carl who adjusted his emotions and spoke about their past life. Roughly speaking, after their tragedy occurred, I happened to be nearby and took them home. I've been taking care of them ever since. Through our time together, this familial bond naturally developed. That's all Carl said. I thought about it, just happened to be nearby, knowing myself. It was probably intentional. He probably didn't finish speaking, judging by their expressions. Something must have happened to me in the end. Doesn't matter. It's not important. The past is the past. It's all over now. Leo came over and gave me a hug. Jenny was really sent in by the Lincoln family's legal department. This time, the Lincolns were truly disappointed in her. They lost a daughter, but that doesn't mean they would accept me. They were somewhat reserved toward me, treating me like a guest. The Miller family. After Jenny entered, Alex Miller became somewhat mentally unstable, making consecutive mistakes in some major decisions. Of course, John also played a part in sabotaging things. The Miller family was no longer what it used to be and began to decline. In the end, John acquired the Miller family. Suddenly rich Nina, love and harmony, image. Today is my birthday, and John insisted on taking this photo with us, saying we left him out last time and had to do a retake. Just the four of us. I sat in the middle, wearing the little crown they made for me, with the three of them gathered around me like stars surrounding the moon. Happy birthday, wifey. Who is this whole family trying to charm to death? Saw the fake heiress drama. Just gotta say, Thank goodness Big Brotherly came to his senses. No breaks allowed even after striking it rich. Nina, don't be such a downer. Wishing Nina endless inspiration and turbocharged typing speed in her new year. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.